right, well, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Audrey Burnett. I'm Associate Dean in University Studies, and I'm here with my colleague Amy Stripe, the Associate Director of University Advising, to talk a little bit more with you about University Studies, the college that houses exploratory students. So to start us off, a little bit about university studies. So every college on campus has a dean's office, and that's where I work. Primarily, my focus is to work with students who might be struggling academically. So perhaps someone who has a potential suspension or probation issue or issues with classes in terms of just struggling in a course. I can help direct them to the necessary resources, for instance. But aside from that, we have very dedicated exploratory advisors, 3 of them actually, and Amy will tell a little bit more about them shortly. But I will say that they are phenomenal. They know a little bit about every major on campus. Literally, I don't know how they do it, but they do it and they do it well. Now, good to know, especially for parents, caregivers, similar outcomes. So even though a student's coming to JMU as an exploratory student, there's similar outcomes as any other major in terms of retention after 2 years and graduation rates, which really kind of coincides with also the point that you're coming in as an exploratory student, yes, but you have the same access to resources in order to do just as well as any other major, and therefore have the same retention and graduation rates. Now, interesting to note, and these are nationwide statistics, so it's very common to not know what to major in and to change your major, even multiple times sometimes. Nevertheless, 25% of college students nationwide will enter undecided. They have no idea what they want to major in. And it makes sense. Perhaps they just haven't had enough time or experience to kind of toy with the various ideas of majors and what that major might entail and what that major might lead to in terms of a career. 75% nationwide will also change their major at least once. So again, you're in good company, even nationwide, because there's so many students who do not know yet what they plan on majoring in. And so using this first year or so is a great time to explore. Now, Amy's going to talk a little bit about kind of exploratory major in general, and then I'll pick it up with some of the rest of the presentation.
Well, welcome students. We're so glad to have you here with us. On behalf of Exploratory Advising, I want to extend the welcome and just tell you that you're in good company. Exploratory is one of our largest majors on campus. And even if we don't have our students assigned to us, there are lots of students, as was mentioned a little bit ago, that come to see us to think about changing their major and or adding a second major or minor. We want to let you know that you have plenty of time to thoughtfully and intentionally explore different majors and minors here at JMU. Specifically, you have until the 3rd Friday of your sophomore year to look at all the wonderful different options that JMU has to offer. So that's over a year to make your decision. You'll do this exploration with your advisor and through the different resources that I'll discuss later today. Audrey?
So just generally, there are 3 specific outcomes for higher education. Learning, obviously, right? But that's more than just say someone's major. We want to make sure, even here at JMU, but just higher education in general, that there's a broad base of knowledge, as well as someone's expertise in their major. So we have general education courses to kind of help students be well-rounded, but that's also a primary outcome of higher education, not to mention employment and career outcomes. So it's not just someone's job or which job they'll get after graduating from JMU, for example, but also graduate school potentially, maybe joining the Peace Corps or some other form of service, as well as other goals that students might have. So employment and career goals, for instance. And then we also have life and career satisfaction as an outcome of higher education. Now, this is based on many years of research linking that someone who has earned at least a bachelor's degree typically reports higher life and career satisfaction. Now, obviously, lots of factors feed into someone's life satisfaction. So it doesn't mean that just because I've earned a bachelor's degree that automatically my life satisfaction will skyrocket. Certainly not, because lots of factors feed into that. But generally speaking, we do tend to see higher life and career satisfaction following higher education of some kind. Also, so here at JMU, we are kind of that model engaged university, and there's three components to what that actually means. So when you think about engagement in general, so think about civic engagement. So that could be voting, it could be maybe even in the future running for office, becoming involved in legislative endeavors, community engagement. So perhaps volunteering in the local community, maybe at a food bank or some other type of community events even. And then engage learning. And so that could be, for instance, and I mentioned several examples here, it could be internships or service learning that might be part of a course that you take here at JMU. And that might lead you to some volunteerism in the local community, which honestly could then lead to a job in some cases. Study abroad opportunities. We have a very strong study abroad program here. And so that's also kind of considered that engage learning, engage with the world, and then student research. And that's a very strong component here at JMU. Lots of faculty, myself included, because I do also teach in the Department of Health Sciences. I work constantly with students who want to work on research and gain those research skills and experience. And so that's also part of engaged learning. And all of that, when you think about it, that broad knowledge base, right? So we have that liberal arts foundation of knowledge paired with someone's major, but then also making sure that they're engaged throughout their time here at JMU, but even in the future as citizens, like local citizens, for instance, or wherever it is they end up living, that they continue to be engaged with the world around them. Now, in terms of graduation requirements, I would say the magic number here is 120 credits. That's the minimum number of credits that it would take to then graduate with a degree. Now, this pie graph will look slightly different depending on a student's major. So we have upwards of 84, even a little bit more than that, credits, for instance, with engineering. So that blue portion of the pie may look slightly different. However, every student, regardless of their major, has to take general education credits, 41 of them actually. And so we want to make sure, again, everyone is more well-rounded than just their major. We want to make sure, okay, you're taking some courses in history or chemistry or music, more than just someone's primary major. Now, the yellow portion of the pie graph may or may not exist. And I say that because a minor or a pre-professional program is not required. It's actually optional, but sometimes it might be a nice complement to someone's major. And I'll speak a little bit more about the minors in a moment. But before I do, please make note that there are over 70 majors to choose from. So you're here today because you're not sure which major you want to ultimately choose. And now I'm telling you that there's 70 choices. So it's probably important and maybe a good use of time even this summer to be thinking about maybe 2 or 3 majors that immediately interest you just based on the name alone. And then do a little more digging in maybe the course catalog, see what course titles are being offered in that major, how many credits does that major entail, and that's the latter portion of the 70 before you on this slide. And so just be thinking about what are some components that interest you in terms of a particular major, and then kind of select from there, or at least have a couple of ideas coming into the fall semester. Now, again, 70 majors. Now I'm telling you that there's over 100 different minors to choose from. But the good news here is A minor is not required. You may or may not choose a minor. It just depends on kind of the pathway that you want to follow, or maybe even if if you're thinking about graduate school. So I'll give you a primary example. I also advise in the Department of Health Sciences. And so a lot of my students want to go on to occupational therapy school or physical therapy school, graduate school. And so what they do is they'll earn their degree in health sciences, but their minor might be in pre-occupational therapy. Now, understand that a student with a minor will have a separate minor advisor as well. So you're never left to your own devices. You have your major advisor, but then you also have your minor advisor. And that person will make sure that the student has all the prerequisites and the necessary coursework that it then would take to apply to graduate school in that particular field. Now, we also have pre-law, but it's not a minor. Yes, we have a minor in legal studies, but it does not prepare you for law school. Pre-law is a program with its own advising, and that individual will make sure that the student is taking the necessary courses to prepare for law school, prepare to take the LSAT, and then apply to law school. So you have this guided pathway of sorts, even though it's not a bona fide minor. Now, understanding, and this is kind of going back to my previous point of what are the admission requirements into a particular program. So it just depends, honestly, on the majors. So some majors here are, in fact, open majors. A primary example would be health sciences. Others may have an audition or a portfolio. So music, theater, obviously you'd see an audition. Portfolio may come in with architectural design. So understanding those components will then help you prepare and figure out, okay, what do I need to do then to apply to this major? Do I need to audition? What do I need to do to prepare? Progression standards. So some majors actually have prerequisite courses that a student has to take before they then can get into the major, or GPA requirements. You might see something along those lines in the College of Business. Now, understand that College of Business is not a major because there's many majors within the College of Business. But there may be, say, you have to have a B minus in a particular course, or you have to have two different courses before you then apply to the major. It simply depends on the major, but that's why kind of looking in advance at what the requirements are is so important to do when you do have the time. And maybe this summer you have a couple hours to do this. Now, also limited enrollment. Now, some majors, we do have to limit enrollment, and for good reason. A great example of this would be nursing. So understandably so, we have to make sure that our nursing students are then placed in the field for their field work, right? And so we are competing with other universities in the area for a very limited number of hospitals, nursing home placements, etc. So all of these nursing students, even at other schools, have to have that same field experience. We only have so many hospitals, for instance, and so we have to limit the enrollment in that particular type of program simply because we don't have the resources in the local area for our students to then do their field work. Now, just some final thoughts on my portion of the presentation. So, when you think about being an exploratory student, I'm hoping that you're getting the sense you're not alone, right? You're in good company. Lots of resources at your fingertips, certainly, including advisors. And I would say specifically here at JMU, in the past, we've had upwards of about 10 to 15% of students coming in as exploratory majors. And so understanding the point that you're not alone. It's been this consistent kind of one of the larger majors. I use air quotes because you cannot graduate as an exploratory major, but it certainly is a wonderful pathway if you're not sure yet in terms of what your major will be ultimately. Now, an additional 36% of students here at JMU will change their major, and some of whom may do so a couple of times until they figure out what suits them, what are they most passionate about. Maybe they've talked to other individuals in the interim, and understanding that even after 2 years, only half of the incoming class will be the same major. So that says that if you're coming to JMU this fall, and let's say you have 4 other friends from high school coming in with you, maybe they already know exactly what their major is going to be. I will say within 1 to 2 years, at least 2 of them will change their major as well. At least, maybe even 3 of them, 3 of the 4 will change their major as well. So understanding you're not alone, even those students who think they know what they're going to major in likely will change their mind as well. And you're prepared and you belong here. If you didn't have the credentials, the grades, the knowledge base, if you didn't have that, we would not have accepted you into JMU. So you belong here. And it just is going to take a year or so to figure out, what is it that I'm passionate about? And it's okay. College is the time to figure out, what excites me in the classroom? What subject am I most passionate about, and then can translate into a career that I'm excited about as well? And that doing that will also, you can utilize your general education coursework. In a lot of those classes, you may discover something that you absolutely love, and that one class will lead you to a major, believe it or not. And obviously, we cannot stress enough the help from your advisor. Make sure that they become your best friend, literally, this year in particular, because they'll be able to guide your pathway and to explore thoughtfully with you. And now Amy's going to talk a little bit more specifically about the advising piece for our exploratory students.
Thanks so much. So students, about a third of you are each assigned to one of our 3 advisors. And so if you could go to the next slide, you can actually meet them. And so you'll be meeting with them a little bit later today and a group advising session. And then there'll be time afterward for each of you to ask any individual questions that you might have. Your advisor has reviewed the schedule of classes that you have each enrolled for. And so each of you are assigned to either Trent, Aaron, or Chris. And like I said, you're roughly about a third of you, about 10 or so per person, are enrolled, assigned to each of these advisors. And so they're so excited to meet with you and talk to you about what you're interested in and what different majors you're thinking about. So if you remember to when you selected exploratory, when you declared your major, so some of you may have done that initially, when you declared your major at the beginning of the summer, and some of you may have done that recently. You had to list a specific different majors that you were interested in. Think about what those looked like for you, and if you had any changes to that. If you have had any changes, that's no worries. Just let your advisor know that there have been changes, and they will help you adjust the classes that you are enrolled in because of those changes. We are going to transition now to talking a little bit about our exploratory areas of interest, which are new this year. And so we have 8 different exploratory areas of interest that we'll talk a little bit about. And the first one is our exploratory area of interest in arts. And so our hope is that you are able to identify with these different areas of interest based on different questions or different statements, and whether or not you felt like I described you and different exploration pathways. So the first one is art, and whether that may be something you like to solve problems in creative ways, maybe aesthetics were pretty important to you. If you selected the business area of interest, you like to use data to make informed decisions. Maybe you like working with numbers and are achievement oriented. You may have selected the education area of interest if you enjoy breaking down complex information to others in fun and engaging ways. And maybe you selected the health, wellness, medicine exploratory area of interest if other people's health is important to you and you find yourself being a health advocate. Audrey? Thank you. You may have selected the humanities area of interest if you identify yourself as a critical thinker and you really are wanting to broaden your world view. You may have selected the STEM or science, technology, engineering, and mathematics area of interest. If you really are excited about finding out how things work and research excites you. You may have selected the social science area of interest if you really enjoy learning about society, people, culture, and politics, and you are excited about using the scientific method to explore the human and animal behaviors. And last but not least, and our most popular area of interest is the exploratory area of interest. This may have been something you identified with if everything interests you, or if you're not really sure what interests you. This area of interest is most popular because our students really want to explore all that JMU has to offer. Advising for our exploratory students is really done in conjunction with a professional full-time advisor. And as we saw earlier, we have 3 of them. These advisors work closely with you as a student to help you make effective decisions. But students, it's really important to know that working with these advisors and making these effective decisions is really up to you. They will give you strategies to make these decisions, but ultimately that decision is yours. I like to say that our advisors are kind of a little bit of a ninja. They will help make you ready to make those decisions because they know so much about a wide variety of those 70+ different majors on campus, so that you can ask any questions that you have. If they're not sure of the answer, they'll get you connected with different departmental resources to get you the information that you need to know. We also have a wide range of different resources and tools to help make you understand a little bit more about who you are as an individual and how those different answers connect to different majors and career paths. Next slide, please. We can't emphasize enough the importance of talking with your academic advisor. It is just so essential that you reach out to your academic advisor with any questions or concerns that you have. They're going to be the first resource to help you get connected to different offices on campus to get your questions answered. It's also going to be a fantastic opportunity for you to talk to different professors that you have about their pathways, how they got interested in their different academic discipline, and how they're moving forward with their different research experiences. You also are getting to meet different people today, orientation peer advisors. You'll meet your residence hall advisors when you move onto campus and other students here at JMU. Ask them about why they chose the particular major that they're in currently, why they're pursuing their different pathways, what they're planning to do after they graduate at JMU, and that should inform a little bit of your exploration too. It might mean you learn a little bit about that major. Maybe you thought a major didn't have a lot of math, and that's why you were thinking about it. Maybe like me, you're not the best at math. And you find out a little bit later that it actually does have a lot of math. That could help you eliminate that particular area. Or maybe you learned something a little bit different. Maybe you thought a particular major wasn't as plentiful in job opportunities, but you have learned later that it is. And so these resources, these conversations that you can be having are wonderful. In a similar way, if you have goals during your time here at JMU, it's really important to let your advisor know what these goals are. That may be studying abroad, it may be doing research, it may be getting involved in campus and other extracurricular activities. Those are fantastic things for your advisor to know so they can help you achieve those different goals. Studying abroad, for example, is a really popular aspiration for students. And depending on the type of program that you're interested in, you may need to save general education classes for a particular program. So again, having those conversations with your advisors are really key and important. Next, we'll talk about why it's important to make exploring a priority during this first year and how our wonderful resources can help you do so. If you haven't yet been to campus or haven't been to the 4th floor of the Student Success Center on campus, we highly encourage you to come visit us in our brand new space. Again, we are located on the 4th floor of the Student Success Center, and that's where all of your advisors' offices are. We hope that you will come visit them, ask any questions that you have, and that's also where our Madison advising peers are located that help any student at the university. So they're a great resource for you if you have any questions about how to use My Madison, general education credits, or if you are struggling to find a last class or two to enroll in for the semester. Some of you may be enrolled in UNST 102. This is our 1-credit dedicated time to explore exploration class that we co-teach with the University Career Center. It is a phenomenal way for you to spend dedicated time to explore during your first year here at JMU. If you did try and enroll in this class, but it was full, don't worry. Our enrollments do go up and down as we get closer to the semester, so you keep checking on that if that's of interest. But also, we do offer this class again in the spring if you aren't able to enroll for it in the fall semester. It is a half semester class, which means sections do start in August and also sections start in October. So just be mindful of that depending on which section you are enrolled in. If you're not able to make that class work, just be aware that we do offer some of the assessments that you would have taken in the class in one-on-one advising meetings. All of our exploratory advisors are strong interest inventory certified. We also offer different assessments like the work values inventory, focus assessment, and other types of assessments to help you learn more about your skills, your strengths, what you value in different majors and in the workplace. All of those different assessments really help you narrow down what you are interested in majoring in and how those connect to different careers, different internships can help you, and really ultimately help you be successful in your selection of a major. We also have fantastic events like the JMU Majors and Minors Fair. So students, if you have a calendar in front of you, we encourage you to go ahead and mark this date down, October 5th from 4 to 6 p.m. We have all of our different majors on campus present. So it's like a one-stop shopping opportunity for you to get any questions answered that you have as you begin to navigate during your time here at JMU. It's also a place where we invite all of the different minors on campus to attend, and we usually have a huge number of the minors represented. All of our different programs often bring fun swag. You'll have some fun giveaways that you can take away, but it's really important that you as an exploratory student try and prioritize attending this great event so you can get your questions answered about all the different programs on campus. And you can also stay tuned because your exploratory advisor will be sending you plenty of communication about this wonderful event. We want to just take a minute to highlight two specific resources that can really help you as an exploratory student. The first is the Career Guide for JMU Majors. This fantastic resource actually helps give you a good understanding about the different majors that you may be interested in, but then it goes a step further. It shows you what current students are actually doing with the different degrees that they are pursuing after they have graduated. So you can see sample career paths, sample internships from actual JMU students. And you can see a lot because JMU students are highly employed. The other resource is the undergraduate majors website, and you can see all the admissions information that we talked about a little bit earlier to make sure that you're meeting those requirements, as well as direct links to the undergraduate catalog page to make sure that you can see and read about different classes that you may pursue later on during your time here at JMU. Next slide, please. So during this time, if you were here with us in person, we break you into teams and have you compete to guess the undergraduate majors of these popular companies' CEOs. Since you're not able to do that with us, we encourage you to kind of guess as we go through to see what these popular CEOs' undergraduate majors were. We're going to be seeing how many of you were able to guess at the end. So guess how many, or keep track of how many you thought were correct. First, we have Tim Cook from Apple. So take a minute and just kind of guess what you think their undergraduate majors were. And don't cheat. All right. If you guessed, and Audrey, if you won't mind clicking, industrial engineering, you were correct. A lot of times people guess something in the realm of IT or computer science, and those would have been really great guesses as well. Next, we have Gail Bordeaux from Anthem, and Anthem is a healthcare health sales company. So go ahead and take a couple seconds and guess what you think their undergraduate major would have been. All right. And if you don't mind, if you guessed psychology, then you were right. I would hazard a guess that most of you did not guess psychology. That one was kind of a little different. Next, we have YouTube CEO Neil Mohan. What do you think their undergraduate major was?
Okay, can you click on that for me? All right, electrical engineering. I bet there weren't that many of you who guessed that one. We typically get guesses such as communication, media arts and design, and similar. Next, we have Starbucks CEO, Laxam Narasim. What do you all think? All right, well, if you guess this one, I'll be really impressed. Mechanical engineering. So this is a really unique pathway for this particular individual. Next, we have Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon. All right, and Audrey, if you don't mind clicking through, history. And last but not least, Target CEO Brian Cornell. And theirs was political science. So if anybody got all of those correct, I would be highly impressed. We usually have people get 1 or 2 right when we do this activity during summer orientation, and that in itself is highly impressive. I always ask why we do this activity, and I always get a wide variety of different answers. As an exploratory student, it's really important to find what you're interested in and pursue it. And that could be a wide variety of topics. But you usually pair your different academic undergraduate degree with different internships, different research experiences, different other opportunities while you're here. And then you may pair those with other opportunities outside of undergraduate, maybe advanced education, and look at where that got these people. They're all CEOs of major companies, and they all have very different undergraduate degrees. So we really encourage you students to find something that you're highly interested in, really thoughtfully explore the different opportunities that JMU has to offer, and really ask us if you have any questions, and talk to your advisors and work with your advisors to find that best fit for you. So we have about 10 minutes left to answer any questions that you have for us as exploratory advising. You can also email us at firstyearadvising@jmu.edu and we'd be happy to answer. But if you do have questions, please go ahead and put them into the Q&A chat and we'll be happy to answer them as we go through. And the first question is, are we going to be able to meet individually with our advisor today? And the answer to that question is yes, but you're going to meet first in a group setting. And so your advisor will do a presentation that is relevant to all individuals, and then they will transition to a more individual one-on-one conversation with each of you. They will also give you feedback about the classes that you are enrolled in. If you are not yet enrolled in classes, they may send you to a separate Zoom link where you actually come see me, and we'll help you get enrolled for fall classes so that you end today fully enrolled, as enrollment does close tonight at 11:59 for first year students. What other questions can Audrey and I answer for you today? And I will say, we didn't get this question specifically, but I get a very common question about how first year advising works. And so while we're waiting for other questions to come in, I can definitely address that question. So as an exploratory student, you are assigned to a first year advisor within our exploratory program. So again, that's Aaron, Trent, or Chris, and you'll stay with them for as long as you are a exploratory student. If you decide to declare your major today or until mid-August, then you will be reassigned to an advisor in the program of study that you have selected. If after mid-August until February, you declare your major, you will stay with your exploratory advisor until the time that you are until the time that you are moved to your major advisor in mid-February during the mass transfer process, where we move our first year students to their major advisor. After mid-February, then you will move to your major advisor as soon as you declare your major. And so that's how that process works. But again, you have until the third Friday of your sophomore year to declare. So you have plenty of time, and you can stay with your exploratory advisor as long as you need to do so. We also really want to encourage you that if there was a class that was restricted when you went to enroll, a great example maybe if you are a exploratory student with a business area of interest, there may have been like an econ class that you really wanted to enroll in. Maybe you couldn't do that initially. Please let your advisor know that you had that interest in that class, and they can help you get you access to that particular class. I think, Audrey, do we usually have common questions that we are usually asked that we haven't been asked today?
I was thinking initially about the how the advising process works and when they would be kind of changing to their major advisor. So you've covered that piece. I know that's a very common question. Outside of that, though, I cannot recall any others that we've had this summer so far.
I think we sometimes maybe get one about graduation timelines and restricted programs. I guess we could talk a little bit about that. As an exploratory student, I just really want to emphasize that if you are thinking about majoring in a program that is restricted, as we talked about before, that could be a portfolio-based program or a limited enrollment program. Your advisor will structure and help you register for the right classes so that you are still making progress toward those degree pathways. And that way you are still able to do your exploration and keep yourself on track for graduation. That's why our graduation timelines are still so similar to other majors across campus. So it's really essential. I want to highlight one more time how important it is to tell your advisor about any programs that you're considering so that they know that and can help you structure your schedule. It may mean that they tell you that you shouldn't be in a geology class, instead you should be in a biology class or something similar. And so just make sure that you let your advisor know again about those interests. And if there are any changes that they do suggest that you make, I really encourage you to make them today because as I mentioned a little bit ago, enrollment does close tonight at 11:59 p.m. and it will reopen again on August 1st. When enrollment does reopen again on August 1st, it is open to the entire university. And I will tell you, they have been eagerly awaiting for enrollment to reopen on August 1st. And so they're going to be very excited about any seats and classes that have been left after you are done enrolling. And it just may be if you accidentally drop a class and you can't get into another one, the class that you dropped may not be there because they've snatched it up. So it's really a nice, safe time to adjust your schedule now. And maybe harder to adjust your schedule a little bit later with the entire university adjusting enrollment. Well, I think those are all the questions that we had. I just want to say on behalf of Exploratory Advising, thank you all so much for being here. Your next session begins at 2:10 and is advising and enrollment. And that's where you'll actually get to meet your advisor. And that the link for your Zoom session is on your special individual orientation website. Audrey?
Thank you everyone for your time and your attention today, and I wish you the very best of luck in your first semester at JMU this fall.